Hi, I am Tony Russo, and in this bonus episode, we are going to speak with Cole Waybright. He is the Vice President of Sales Optimization at Homesteaders Life Company. We had a great, if quick, chat about a presentation he'll be giving in another couple of weeks on October 15th. The title of the talk is Breaking Silos, Maximizing Efficiency with Integrated Technology. So if you're on the fence and you want to get a better idea about what the virtual event will include, this is the place to do it. And you can sign up in the show notes or by going to events.kates-Boylston.com. All of our virtual events are made available after the fact, but one of the cool things about it is if you attend is you can get to ask questions, which really helps you get the most out of the conversation. But let's get into this conversation with Cole, and I will be back on the other side to remind you how to find out how to participate. Here's Cole. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and hang out with me. I'm looking forward to your presentation. And before we get too deep into it, I wanted to talk to you about how did you decide that maximizing efficiency with integrated technology was the next thing that you wanted to talk about? Because you've given presentations like this before, but this is a little bit different. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. It's great to be here for one, and excited to share maybe a little bit more insight into this. Technology seems to be changing at a rapid pace. I heard someone the other day say that technology will never go any slower and is absolutely going at its fastest in the current moment.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a really interesting piece. And I think, funeral home professionals, owners, managers that are looking to utilize, there's some great technology companies out there, and they know that they need to use technology and make it part of their everyday process, but oftentimes may not understand the full effect of these bifurcated systems or ways that they're maybe not realizing the full efficiency or the full product value of what they're doing. So hopefully I can give them some insight into just asking themselves a few questions, maybe a checklist to help go through as they're looking at these great platforms and offerings out there in the space today, to make sure that they're not creating maybe more work for themselves or even additional inefficiencies.
Because it's not just about whether one system, for example, is compatible with another, but it's also like you might have the thing that you need and not know it because, you might have bought a thing for one feature and it might have another feature that can help you, right?
Absolutely. I think, understanding that full product value of what you're exploring, but also kind of taking a step back even beforehand and truly understanding what your true needs are. Again, I think this is an exciting time where there's a lot of new things getting thrown out on a daily basis. And in a rush to maybe solve one thing, they don't necessarily take the full picture into effect. And to your point, you can miss out on some really great features or benefits of a tool and not even realize it.
And I guess on the other end, you might be getting things that you don't need for the fear of missing out, because there are so many. This will solve this problem completely on day one. This will solve this problem completely on day two, and you're like, well, I would like all my problems solved. But the next thing you know, you're buried in different things that you don't really appreciate the full import of.
Yes, that's absolutely correct, Tony. There are so many, again, embedded pieces, or oftentimes, you get sold on something. It's very easy in those initial discoveries and in early sales pitches that for the company to say, "Oh yes, absolutely, we can do that." And then once you peel back the onion a little bit, you say, "Well, for that to work, you have to do X, Y, and Z, or you have to have this and this." So just again, hopefully helping owners, managers avoid some of the traps that unfortunately maybe I've walked through before.
Yeah.
But also have seen very firsthand or heard stories from others.
Oh, and because there's also like the The upgrade fear is what I like to call it. Like, I'm always afraid to upgrade my machine because I don't know what's going to stop working when I do.
Right, it's the Apple rule,
Right.
right? It feels like every time I, update my iPhone, it's got some other feature that I suddenly get locked out of something else, but nonetheless, I think, one of the things that I hope we can get through is integrated technology is a powerful game changer. There's a lot of reports that say it can really improve employee productivity up to 25% and oftentimes eliminate errors if done correctly by up to 50%. You think about all of the times today, or if you don't necessarily think about integrated technology, that you have to do duplicate, triplicate entry or manual entry into a lot of these different systems. That just opens itself up to the rule of human error. No matter how careful you are, no matter how um, detail oriented you are, that it just happens. The slip of a keyboard, the misspelling of a name, and all of a sudden now you've got twice as much work because you've got to go fix everything, or maybe even worse, depending on the system and what its actual output is. Again, I hope that anyone attending this, or maybe watches it even after the fact, or is able to attend, can get something from this, or makes them stop and think about before their next technology purchase. Just ask themselves the right questions, or gives them some insight into maybe some questions even to ask of that person sitting across the desk from them trying to sell them something.
And so what do you think are some good approaches? Like, what kind of questions, maybe one or two, that people should at least have on the top of their minds to either feel like they have answered or to ask specifically to be answered?
Yeah, I think one of the things to really drive towards, again, we mentioned it earlier, was understanding what this tool's primary focus or primary objective will be for my business. Again, there's a lot of tools that are pretty comprehensive out there,
Mm,
but understanding what am I truly trying to accomplish, and does this tool actually meet that fully up front? If it does, great. You've already kind of checked box number one.
right.
But then even asking the question around integration. I use X, I use Y. Does this system actually truly and fully integrate? And then ask how.
Yeah.
Who's responsible for that work? How does it actually? Because I think there's a lot of times where, um, I don't think anyone's trying to mislead anyone by any means, but it's easy to say, yes, this can integrate fully, but then you again, peel back the onion and you understand that, oh, this means I have to buy another connector, or I have to go through this other program to actually get stuff to route into this program the way I envisioned it to be. It's not necessarily a direct connection or direct integration or native integration. You'll hear that term a lot. Those are kind of two of the big things right off the bat. If you're trying to have this fully integrated tech stack that will allow you to recognize the power and efficiency of those integrations.
You mentioned, like, it might not even have to do with bad actors. Sometimes you're talking to someone who's like, oh yeah, that's easy to do for me in my professional capacity as a programmer.
Uh-huh.
And I think sometimes it's easy to forget that if you're a funeral director, you're not handling the tech full time. You're dealing with the tech as in your spare time. I mean, if you don't have a guy, and most independent places don't have a guy, it's who's ever available at this time, and that's another layer removed. So it's not even just about, like, will it work together, but will it work together easily enough that we can adapt it quickly and without a lot of retraining on everything that we do.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And just truly understanding, is it something that I can stand up as a, let's just say novice in that space? Is it something that you as the company provider are going to be helping me implement and stand up? Or am I going to need a even consultant or contractor to do this? I think that's where a lot of companies realize some additional cost at times, is they buy this great system, they think they're getting a great deal, and they realize that now they've got to go hire an implementation partner that is going to cost 2 or 3 times
Right.
what the program does, just to get it to work that way. And that was really not fully, not necessarily disclosed, but just wasn't even thought to be even a question to ask, right? So understanding that level of knowledge. I've been in your same seat where I had a former CTO who I made maybe the comment one too many times of, "Oh, this should be easy." And so, yeah, for you, the person who's not going to be actually necessarily doing that connection and things. So I learned pretty quick not to maybe use that term, but again, I think it's just fully understanding what that level of support's going to be needed and or provided.
And what are some of the things that people can do to, like, with what they have? Like, if they already have an integration problem, it can be a lot to say, well, if you buy this, that that will fix them both. So, like, where do you go if you already have an integration problem and you want to solve it? Do you have to burn the whole thing down, or there are sometimes other ways to do that?
Look, I think with technology, there's a lot of things that are possible. And I heard someone one time say, anything's possible in technology with the right amount of time and the right amount of money, um, which is scary. And if you've ever been part of one of these processes where maybe you purchased what you thought was going to be a great system, and whether due to implementation or functionality or lack of integration, it becomes a nightmare. And it becomes one of those things that you become a little bit maybe even gun shy in the future about how you go about doing these things and how you go about believing in what's going to be next. I think once you find a company that you can trust, someone who's been through that, who can demonstrate and you can get real examples of kind of going through those implementation pieces. There might be times where you do have to, unfortunately, kind of learn from the past and move on and burn the thing down, per se, and start over. But there are also a lot of really great, technology people and leaders in and around the space that can also step in and maybe help make the equation that you put together make sense, because it may not math out at the time, but they have that unique ability. So I don't know if there's an answer that gives a one size fits all answer to that question, but there are a lot of possible solutions. It just comes down to how big is the problem and what is the problem you're trying to solve.
And I guess taking your time to solve it, not just buying more things, to buying more patches.
Right. Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time. I had a great chat. I do want to ask, is there something that I missed? Is there something that I should have asked and didn't, or something that you thought you'd get the opportunity to say, but I didn't provide it?
No, I'm again just really excited about the upcoming presentation, and hopefully this was helpful to someone just listening today. But if you want to find out more about some of these ways you can maybe avoid some of those common pitfalls, or how integrated technology can truly become a solution for you and your firm, that you join in and take part.
Once again, you can join Cole Waybright for his presentation, Breaking Silos, Maximizing Efficiency with Integrated Technology, at 1 p.m. on October 15th. That is a Wednesday. It is a virtual event, and you can register now. Remember, if you register and it turns out you can't make it, not a problem. We will send you the entire presentation via email the next day. So this is certainly something that you can benefit from, and it wouldn't hurt to have access to it. Sign up, and that way you'll have it. And if you can come, all the better, because we have some great conversations at these presentations a lot of the time. It's also important for me to remind you to go to events.Kates-Boylston.com to see all of the events we have, because we always have new stuff coming up, and it's always super cool. So again, link in the show notes, or go to events.Kates-Boylston.com. This has been a Kates-Boylston production. It was written and edited by me, Tony Russo. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, I would love it if you did. We do a news podcast every Friday with a rundown of the week's funeral industry news and end-of-life happenings. And every other week, we have a feature podcast that is called Funeral Service Insider, the podcast where we talk to newsmakers and other people surrounding the death care industry. All right, and we will catch you next time.